Hello and welcome to the Housing Minute. My name is Samuel Gunter and I'm the Executive Director of the North Carolina Housing Coalition. And we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. Unfortunately, we were unable to get House Bill 1200 across the finish line. For those of you who have been following this bill included $200 million in mortgage, rental, and utility assistance, as well as support for housing counseling agencies and legal service providers. From the floor debate on the House, we heard several people mention that they did not see a need for added housing recovery funding, given that the governor had announced the week prior that he would be allocating $175 million in CARES Act funding towards housing recovery efforts. This was incredibly unfortunate, especially as much of that $175 million that the governor announced was community development block grant funds, it was ESG funds, funds we knew about, and were going to be funds that were on top of the $200 million that was in House Bill 1200. It also did not include money for legal services providers, it didn't include money for housing counseling agencies, and it didn't include money for homeowners, in addition to not being as much money for rental and utility assistance. But now that the General Assembly has adjourned sine die, we have allocated our CARES Act funding. Our advocacy efforts now move back to Congress. The HEROES Act that passed several months ago out of the House included $100 billion in rental assistance. The Senate proposal that came out this week includes no money for housing recovery at all. Given the CDC eviction moratorium that just came out, and if you want more details on that, you can see below. I think this will go a long ways to helping folks stay in their homes, but it is an incomplete effort because if you do not accompany an eviction moratorium with any kind of rental assistance, it just kicks that can further down the road and further exacerbates the problem. We need action on the part of Congress to be able to stave off the worst effects of the economic fallout of COVID-19. But in the meantime, what you should know as a housing professional is that the CDC eviction moratorium does seem to be working, but it requires proactive action. It does not prevent evictions if the tenant does not take action. And so you can see more details below to help inform the folks that you are in touch with of the steps that they need to take to make sure that they can stay in their housing as the state figures out how to get their apparatus together to get the money out the door into the families who need it the most, and as Congress figures out what, if anything, they're going to be doing to support families in need of housing money. With that, I'm going to leave you for now, and we will see you next week.